What is going on, guys? It is Dan here, and we are back with World of Tanks, actually. I haven't done this in probably about 3 months, but I figured today would be an important episode to bring out to you guys, because I know a lot of you people who watch like my From the Depths videos are interested in tanks, and I happen to really love World of Tanks, and I have a feeling that a couple of you out there also play this game, so if you play, you know, you could add me, and we could platoon together, you know, and stuff like that. But I figured in today's video we're just gonna kind of discuss the Krupp-Steyr Waffenträger, the Krupp-Steyr Waffenträger. It's a new Tier 7 premium German tank destroyer. I've been anticipating this thing since it was first announced, like almost a year ago, maybe a little bit over a year ago, and I watched some demo gameplay, I guess that Wargaming uploaded to their YouTube channel, and I thought that this thing had just disappeared completely and was never going to come into the game. Well, it has, and I'm going to give you guys a rundown on whether this tank is worth it or not. So you've got 3 different bundles here on the North American server. I don't know what it is on the other 2 servers, but I do know that this tank is available on all of the other servers. So, you know, if you still happen to like it after this review, go ahead and get it. Anyway, so we're going to look at the 3 options we have here. I never really buy the bundles just because I have gold. I don't really need all of this other stuff. So typically speaking, I just buy the standalone version. So we're gonna go ahead and go here. It's $28, $29. I think it's roughly the same over in Europe. So I don't entirely, again, I don't know the pricing over there, but you know, looking at it, it looks like a decent enough tank, you know. For $29, it's you would anticipate it to be pretty good. I think that's roughly the same price as the SU 12244. Go ahead and take a look if we can find it. I probably drove past it, scrolled past it already. Is it? Is it? Oh, it's okay. I don't know where it's at. I'm probably looking right at it. Unless they removed it from the GIF. Interesting. Okay, so maybe they're not going to be having it around much longer. Interesting. Anyway, so we're going to go ahead and load up World of Tanks, and we're going to kind of go over the statistics of the vehicle and what you should be looking out for when you are fighting them on the battlefield. Alright, so here we are in the garage with the Krupp-Steyr Waffenträger. So it's Tier 7 premium German tank destroyer. It is similar to the Waffenträger series of vehicles, where it has a fully traversable turret and actually incredibly good camouflage. Like, we're going to discuss the camouflage values here in a second, but just to give you a brief rundown, it's a 4-man crew. You've got your commander, you've got your gunner, driver, and loader. I'm just pulling them from my Stug crew, and I'm just sticking them in here. So let's go ahead and take a look at the gun. You've got the 8.8 centimeter Pak 43 L71. So it's an 88 millimeter gun. It's got an 8.33 rounds per minute rate of fire, which translates to about 6.2 seconds. 203 millimeters of penetration with 240 alpha damage is, I think it's roughly the same as the Tiger's gun, but slightly better, maybe? I don't know. One of the downsides to this gun, though, is the premium ammunition penetration only goes up by 34 millimeters. So it's kind of lackluster on the penetration. And I don't really care about 88 millimeter high explosive. It's really not that much better. And it just doesn't have ample penetration. Accuracy is good. Aim time is all right. It's not great, but it's not terrible. And the accuracy, it works. It works really well. So the gun looks pretty good. Now, this is where it's going to kind of get a little bit upsetting. The engine is only 140 horsepower, which if we go to mobility, it's about 14 tons, so that brings it down to a 9.76 specific power ratio, which is sub-heavy tank levels in most cases. So this vehicle is not flexible whatsoever. And with a 35 horsepower, a 35 kilometer an hour top speed limit, forwards and 15 backwards, this thing doesn't get anywhere very fast. And you might be thinking, okay, well, then there's probably something to do with the armor. You'd be mistaken in that. The best armor on this tank is at the front, and it's 20 millimeters. You're not going to be bouncing a whole lot with this thing. On top of that, 800 hit points means you can be two-shot by most 122 millimeter guns plus. So, no armor, low hit points, abysmal mobility. It's not looking too good for this vehicle. You're probably thinking, well, it's just a stationary target. But we're going to get on to the positive sides of this vehicle. It's got negative 8 degrees. It's got 8 degrees gun depression. So all around it's 8 degrees up, except for these two little nubs right here. It goes down to 2 degrees gun depression, which I have run into some complications with that. It's annoying to kind of work with these, but considering the rest of it is 8 degrees, and 8 degrees is pretty good, I have no problem with it. But 45 degrees gun elevation, that is insane. I don't think I have a single vehicle that has that good elevation angles. That's basically like up to here, about, because it's about halfway through 90. So really, really good elevation. Damage per minute is alright. It's obviously not comparable to the 25 whatsoever. But this vehicle has a massive trick up its sleeve. If you go to concealment, with my current crew loadout, which is basically all camouflage and camouflage net, we have 41.8% camouflage value while we're stationary. That is almost as good as my E25 at 44. This thing is incredibly hard to detect. Now, we're not going to really be able to see that in the replay I'm going to showcase, but you're just going to kind of see how close I can get to some enemies without them actually being able to see me. So that is one of the major tricks that this vehicle has up its sleeve, is its incredible camouflage values. Like, just to give you an idea, actually, if we go ahead and grab the Scorpion G, you can see just how much smaller this thing is compared to it. It's just so low profile. Like, for instance, if we're going to grab one of the Swedish tank destroyers, which are notorious for being small, it's just as tall as the Tier 6 one. It's tiny. This thing is incredibly hard to hit. In fact, let's just take a look at the Stug. That's its comparison to the Stug. It's basically the same size as a Stug. On top of that, it carries 50 rounds of ammunition, which is pretty good. I will definitely give it that. And it does a pretty good job at making credits, so there's definitely a lot of bonuses to it. On top of that, its camouflage value while moving isn't actually too terrible either. In fact, if I go ahead and I compare it to my Spa Panzer, it's got a better camouflage value while moving than my light tank, which is designed to be stealthy. So that's just kind of giving you an idea on how hard it is to detect this thing. Now, don't get me wrong, this thing, once it's spotted, cannot do anything. Basically, if you get spotted, you're done for. You are dead. But that's where the camouflage comes into play, so you don't get spotted. Alright, so now we're going to hop into the replay. Alright, here we are. So this is the most recent game that I've had in the TheBionicTree Waffenträger. Just kind of ignore the chat for the first portion of the battle. It's kind of your standard toxic World of Tanks chat. I really should disable it, but it's been useful in some scenarios, especially in a Cromwell B replay that I have, which, if you guys watch through to the end of this video, you can actually see the outro that I have, where it has the Cromwell B replay. Alright, so give me a second. I want to take a look at something. Alright, that's kind of weird. So it's not showing the vehicles. Interesting. Okay, well, we're just going to kind of give you a rundown. Currently, this is a 35% chance to win. It's not looking too good. The top tier IS-6s on the enemy team are what's going to be giving us the most issues. So we kind of need to focus them down. So one of them just drove past. Here comes the next one. This one I'm actually going to be able to get a hit in on. So there we go, 284 damage. Again, for some reason you can't see it. It must be some kind of really weird replay bug. I don't really know why. But we are currently less than 400 meters from these enemies. And granted, we are in a tank destroyer. We're kind of very sneaky. Very, very sneaky. I really wish you guys could see exactly what is happening with these heavy tanks, but they're both on incredibly low health. Here comes an OI. Oh, this is just going to be sad. 206 damage, so a bit of a low roll, but it doesn't really matter, because with the rather good reload on this gun, we get a second shot in for 243, and our Nashorn finishes it off. So, trying to look for a shot on the IS, but we can't really see it, so, you know, that kind of stuff. And I'm beginning to notice that there's kind of a really open flank. So I'm going to go reposition, and you guys can kind of see how slow this thing is. We're just now hitting the max speed of 35 kilometers an hour, and we're going downhill. It's bad. It's really bad. But anyway, on the plus side, it's now up to a 42% chance to win, so, you know, whatever. It's good. It's good. It's at this point I noticed the Super Pershing, and I figure I might be able to get some side shots in, because our Stuart Emil, if he's even using the top gun, he's probably going to have a bit of an issue going through the front of the Super Pershing. On top of that, if he's using the top gun, his reload rate is going to be terrible. But it's at this point I noticed the enemy IKV 65 Alt 2, I think that's what it is. Yeah. So he is the best player remaining on the enemy team, and I want to finish him off as quickly as possible. So 224 damage. He's on like 36 now. He's within a one shot. So I'm just waiting for him to kind of pop back up. I take a blind punt at him, but you know, probably not going to hit. I did manage to get a blind shot earlier on in a previous game, but sadly today was not the day for 2 in a row. So I'm trying to defend our artillery, who are currently being chased down by an AMX-12T. Poorly aimed shot by me, but oh well. So then we spot the enemy T-34, who is, other than the IKV, the best player on the enemy team. I tried putting a shot through the side of the turret, but in hindsight that was probably never going to penetrate, with only 203 millimeters of penetration. I tried to go through the commander's hatch, but it doesn't do that, so, you know. At this point, I think he's going to shoot at me, but he shoots over at the UDES and kills him. Now, there's a chance that, well, there's a pretty good chance I was spotted, but even in that case, you know, this is just a really stealthy tank. Like, in this current scenario, it's going to be difficult for him to spot me through all these bushes. I move in to try to take a shot at him, do another 246 damage, and I believe our STA is going to run in and finish him off. Tried to take another punt at the commander's hatch right there, but it was kind of a little tense, so I didn't really aim that well, and we're down to 33. STA2 finishes him off, so now I'm going to go and try to work over this Tiger P, which kind of feel bad for him because he's about to get ganged up on by 2 different tanks. Now, what I really should have done at this point was use the fully traversable turret like I am right now in backing up instead of driving forward, so that way I can immediately try to use my just awful acceleration and top speed to get away. I feel bad for this guy though, because I think he's now realizing that it's inevitable that he's going to die, so he's trying to go after our STA, which I believe at this point is down to like 100 hit points. So it's not looking good for him. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to try to provide as much assistance as possible. I'm just auto-aiming at this point, because I know that the STA-2 is going to finish him without any major issue. So now we're going to kind of get a look at how immobile this thing really is. We are currently going up a hill, and we are struggling to do anywhere above 20 kilometers an hour. Alright, so we're kind of picking up speed a little bit, but now we're going to go into the swamp, and this is going to be interesting. This vehicle does not have insanely good terrain resistances, so when you hit the soft and boggy, terrain, it's not great. I mean, it's not terrible. I've driven significantly worse vehicles in the swamp, but it's not too great. And just wait till we start going up a hill. It's bad. So there's me just kind of showing off the max extent of the gun elevation, which is actually pretty good. And we're gonna start going up a hill. We, just dropped down below 10 kilometers an hour. Going up this gradual incline. What this thing really, really desperately needs is a more powerful engine. Like, I don't care if it's still 35 kilometers an hour, but if it struggles to do over 10 kilometers an hour going up a hill like this, there's something wrong with this tank. And that's kind of my conclusion with this vehicle. It's just not maneuverable enough. Like, 35 kilometers an hour isn't terrible. I think that's roughly the same speed as the Tier 8 TheBionicTree Waffenträger, but with the terrible engine power that this vehicle has, and considering it doesn't have the alpha damage to really be able to consistently, scare off vehicles, and it doesn't have the penetration to really be able to handle that as well. Like, for Tier 7, 203 millimeters of penetration is good, but with the low alpha damage, the poor maneuverability, and just the terrible armor, I just don't think in the current state this vehicle is really worth spending $30 on. If it received a buff and maybe could go at like 45 kilometers an hour and get there respectably, that I would recommend this thing. But currently it's difficult to say, hey, this tank is good. It's not. It's on the lesser of the mediocre side. It works. It's not very good. So, Wargaming, if you somehow see this, please buff this tank. Like, I can already tell I'm going to like it, but I would love it so much more if it was just a little bit faster and the engine wasn't garbage. So with that, I'd like to thank you guys for watching. Let me know if you have bought this tank yet and what you think in the comment section down below. Are you going to get it? All that fun stuff. If you're kind of disappointed with the advent calendar, I know I kind of was, because there wasn't really anything that I was really looking forward to, like the SU-76i. I was kind of hoping that might make an appearance, but sadly, this year was not the year. Anyway, I'll catch you guys next time. Take care.